Welcome to What We Watch. We're chatting the bear today. Season 2. So much fun. The show's so good, you guys. Glad we're here. Come on up to the stage if you want to speak. And come on up. This is What We Watch in The Bear Season 2. Tweet it out. Let's everybody join. Very exciting. This song is so fun. It's very important to choose a song that represents your show. I think this is very, very good. Come on up to the stage if you want to chit chat with me. We're celebrating everyone today. Oh my gosh, we're so lucky. Welcome Matt to the stage.
Yo, what's up?
Whew. Matt, I'm excited for us today. I'm very excited for us today, guys. We're going to talk about The Bear. This is What We Watch. Make sure you're watching What We Watch Film, or following What We Watch Film TV, and you're watching us, of course. We are now over 1,000 followers. We are litty. We worked hard, baby, and we're only going up. Tap the bottom mic if you want to come up and speak. We got Matt on stage, regular What We Watcher, regular Twitter Space gang.
That's right.
Guys, I just want to start off with one question. Let's just go ahead and start judging people. You know how we do here. Let me know, and I feel like I know your answer, Matt. Welcome Aaron to the stage. Did you start watching The Bear season 1 when it came out? Or did you start watching from season 1 this season? Let's go around the room. Matt, what's your answer?
Yeah, I started watching season 1 when it came out. In fact, I haven't seen it in so long that I think I need to go back and rewatch it.
I like that. Aaron, what about you?
I watched both. So I started season 1 when it first dropped, and same with this. As soon as it dropped, watched it. So I've
Okay.
been fine.
Gang. Okay, so gang. Juanita, welcome to the stage. What about
Hey,
you?
Um, I haven't watched season 1 since I first watched it.
Okay, but you watched it when it dropped.
Yes, I did.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so we got day ones here. Tej, what about you? Welcome to the stage.
Thank you. I watched season 1 when it was airing live, but in the middle of watching this season, sometimes due to choices and sometimes due to pure happenstance, I ended up watching, I think, 3 episodes from season 1 over again in the middle of my watch of season 2. So I got some much needed context. I actually watched a pilot of the show right before I watched episode 6, which was a very nice connection. That happened by mistake, but the universe wanted it to happen that way, and it was perfect.
Okay, nice.
I'm sorry. Can I object to his display name right now? I'm sorry.
Edwin, what about you?
I've when the show came out and everybody was talking about it, I hopped on immediately and enjoyed it. The only episode I
Period.
really rewatched was the sixth and seventh, which is like the sixth is like they had the gangsters outside the restaurant because I love the end scene of Richie complaining to Tina, and the seventh episode was when all of it is in one shot. I wanted to see like how they were able to do that. But
Yeah.
and the last episode, but only like the Let It Down Radiohead needle drop. That one is probably like still one of my favorites. But I feel like season 2
Nice,
elevated it.
nice. So the reason why I asked is because I don't remember. I remember us all speaking about it, but I don't remember like a lot of traction around it. So I get really excited when TV shows, get greenlit for a second season, and it kind of picks up some steam, and everybody like hops on and gets on board. Especially when we got a Black woman lead and or co-lead here, Ayo Edebiri, right? So it's a big, big deal, right? Because the way they market this show is to me it's nothing short of genius, but also like if you were to like talk about what this show is, we're watching a show about this group of people, this diverse group of people, if you will, open up a restaurant, right? And it's like, yo, what the fuck is this going to be about? So I'm really excited to talk about this. I can talk about this for the next 5 hours, but obviously we're going to kick it off properly. And you hear the music playing in the background, new noise. You hear it. Let's talk about the music in this show. I'm honestly gonna put you on the spot, my resident music girly, Juanita. Let's talk about the music on this show, guys. Let's talk about the actual fucking soundtrack for season 2 specifically. And if you have any season 1 drops, let me know. But go ahead, Juanita.
Okay, so let me preface this by saying, I am a music girl. The thing is though, I'm more sound oriented than just music. So honestly, I'm blanking. I'm looking up all of the songs that were on here.
Yeah, just go ahead and type in like the Bear season
Yeah,
2.
I'm pulling it up now.
So what I appreciate, just like integrating it with the conversation, right? What I appreciate about the music is that, like, if you were to use one word to describe this show, right? Like, would we all agree it's like fucking chaotic, anxiety, stress, right? Like, what word would you guys use? Talk to me, speakers.
Suffocating was like the number one.
Suffocating. Okay, what you got, Aaron, Teej, Matt,
Overwhelming.
Edwin? You said what?
Overwhelming.
Overwhelming. Correct.
Adrenaline.
Adrenaline. Yeah. Teej, Edwin, what you got?
Stressful.
Exactly. Teej, no.
You just talk about the score or the overall show?
Just the overall theme of the show. Like, how would you describe the show?
I would describe it very differently than everybody else just did. I think what makes the show so genius is that we know, like we as a viewer know that the characters are going to be okay and things are going to turn out great, but they will never know it. And I think that tension is why I like the show so much because, like, I can tell you right now, at the end of season 3 or season 4 or wherever we're going with the show, the Bear is going to be a great success. And then they're going to have moments where they think that they're going to fumble the success, but the show's going to end with the Bear being a great success. But they don't know
I
that
don't.
yet. And that level of stress that's playing on them and the level of insecurity that's playing on them plays out so well on the screen, but it doesn't make me feel stressed watching it.
So
So
I
I think
don't know
stress
that
comes from the
I don't
cook.
know
It's,
that means you disagree with
it's
everybody. I think that you're saying exactly what everybody else is saying. And I also don't know that I agree with you to the extent that we know the Bear is going to be a success in the end. I think it would be beautiful to make sure that we get to be on this journey with Io and, I'm sorry, let me call her by her character name, Sydney and Carmi. And so I think there will be a moment where we have these peaks and successes. And Aaron, I'll let you finish. But I think that's what everybody's saying. Like, stressful doesn't mean that I just feel the stress. It means that the show is doing a good job of like mixing the sound, the dialogue, the extremely chaotic layered dialogue, right? Where people are talking over each other, people are yelling, people are screaming, there's like background noise with a normal conversation happening. Like, it's very intentionally chaotic. Whether you feel stressed about what the outcome may be or whether you have an assumption about what the end of the show may be, what we're really trying to do, I think, in this show is like really immerse you in what it means to be behind the fucking door at a fucking restaurant, which is why the finales or the last 2 episodes, the penultimate and the finale, hit so hard because it's like, oh, we get front of the house and the back of the house changes. So go ahead, Aaron, what were you saying?
I know. I was just agreeing. Like I think I understand what you're just saying, but I think the chaotic moments, it's literally just them in the kitchen. It's just chaos when they're cooking, which is why I actually liked season 2, because there really was not a lot of it. There was way less cooking going on, which meant there was way less anxiety and overwhelming, because it was literally just those scenes that have you like, everybody's so aggressive. They're
Yeah,
just
but
it's scallops.
right. But way less anxiety for season 1 is still a ton of anxiety to me,
Yes.
right? You know
Agreed.
what I mean? Like, I think when we talk about the theme of the show, we're talking about what the characters are experiencing and feeling too. But go ahead, Juanita.
Okay, so just going through all of the songs that were used during season 2, there
Yeah.
are a couple moments that stand out to me. Number one, far and away, is "Love Story" from Richie.
Yo,
Yo,
fire. Perfect.
just from firstly, because of his character arc, where that comes in at, and then who he is as a person, just immediately stuck. There's also another moment. Is 25 Miles by Edwin Starr when
Facts.
they're going like through the chaos menu where they're testing stuff, and then Carmi blows it off, and like all of these things that happen, but you still have to get around. And then I'm looking at the soundtrack. There's a lot of Lindsey Buckingham. Um, there's some Mavis Staples that repeats. I find that interesting. And to teach your point about just overall, say, I wouldn't say necessarily like knowing the characters is going to be okay. Like, it's a TV show, and you kind of want to assume that because it's a comedy. Technically, it's like 20 minutes more, like 20, 30 minutes when things aren't bad. You tend to have a slight expectation that, hey, light at the end of the tunnel, Lord knows they're gonna get it. When they do, it's gonna feel great, sure. But in the process of that, one thing that this show does well, Mo, you touched on it, is the chaos, and a lot of that is sound driven.
Correct.
Episode 6 is a great example of that. From when you have the timer ringing to all of the people and shuffling around, the dishes that goes on, everything. The sound design on this show is excellent because of all of the sounds that go on in the kitchen, all the activity that's implied, the ambient noise from just the front of house, all of that goes into these moments. So then you have moments where
Right.
things are quiet and they stand out. So when I say
Yeah.
suffocating, that is the vibe I get from the sound. Just like I said, just overall activity,
Yeah.
very, very active, very heavy, heavy breathing type deal.
I, li- I like that. I like that term. I like that term activity, right? Because, like, even teach use the word tension, right? Which chaos, stress, overwhelming. Like that tension, what does tension create? Does it create comfort? No, right? It's like almost an antonym to that word. So I think, what I really appreciate about the sound, right? Sound is different from music. But to your point, there's so much activity, right? And what better way to talk about the activity in season 2 than fucking episode 6? Like, what the fuck, there's so much quote unquote activity. And I really like that word because a lot of this show doesn't really carry you into some sort of like the overall, I guess we would say like a plot, right? Like we are trying to open up a fucking restaurant, guys. Like, I don't know about y'all, but I feel like I'm opening a restaurant up. And that's what I want from my fucking TV shows. I'm committed. I'm watching this like it's a fucking college football game. And I'm like, yo, like we ain't got much time. Y'all gotta move. Y'all gotta go. Like, what are we doing? How far are we from like what is happening? And so I really like that because we have episode 6, which is a departure from that, but it's a departure every episode, like episode 4, episode 6, episode 7. These quote unquote, what I'll call them quote unquote departures, are like moments where we just get to see the backstory of these characters. So when we switch back on to the quote unquote chaos menu or the other crazy shit happening in the fucking kitchen, heard chef, we understand that. And I think I just have a fucking great time watching episode 4, episode 6, and episode 7 because it's like, oh shit. Even if you didn't rewatch season 1, which I highly recommend rewatching season 1, even if you already finished season 2, you get to like go on the journey with these fucking characters and see why. Like, I don't know about y'all, but how many of y'all cried in season 2 at all? Because I love to cry. I
Several.
I
cried.
shed
Several
Okay.
times.
tears at several points.
Okay. Okay. So see
Episode
that.
7 was the one.
Okay, see, okay, we're crying here, guys. Like, we are invested. Like, I am shedding tears over these crazy motherfuckers cussing at each other. Heard chef, yes, chef. Can I go outside and scream fuck? And I'm over here like, oh God, please let them. Every second counts. Can we talk about the Marcus episode? We're gonna go through each of these characters, but let's talk about the
Yeah.
Marcus episode because I feel
Please.
like Aaron. It sounds like you with me. I feel like motherfuckers slept. I feel like everybody was 6 and 7ing me. And I feel like the Copenhagen fucking Marcus episode was way too beautiful to overlook. Let's give it some time. Aaron, go ahead.
First of all,
Bitch.
Listen, I was live tweeting it when I first watched it, and I put in it, I was like, yo, I'll fight for Marcus right now. I will throw hands at that man right now. The way he over here constructing pastries in Copenhagen with my homie, like Will Poulter, like come on. And the chemistry between him and Will Poulter. First of all, Will Poulter looks so much better when he's speaking in his native accent because I don't know what it is, but when he gets American around here, I think I notice his eyebrows more. I don't know what it is, but he's so much better.
So I did not think
in the chemistry between the two. It was so my heart, like you just saw a different side of Marcus. Like he was everything was intent. There was so much intent behind everything he did, and it didn't even make sense when he saved that dude from underneath the bike, but you were just rooting for him any fucking way. Like, yeah, sure. Him and a bike, go for it. Like everything. Him feeding an invisible cat. Like I was like invested in all the stupid shit.
Yeah, and I have a theory about that, and I'm glad you opened up. I'm gonna blame you. I'm glad you opened up the horny portion. I didn't think we'd get this in 20 minutes early and get the horny portion. But I don't know, guys. Like, I'll do anything for Marcus. What you want, Marcus?
Yep.
You want whatever you want, sweetie. It's okay. We can be horny for these characters. Okay, Marcus and Will can do whatever. That's fine. Do whatever you want. But what I appreciate, and I think the word that I would use, to your point, is passion. Marcus is a passionate man, and I like a passionate man. And I was about to cry as you were talking about it because this man is really, really just deeply invested in his craft, and he was like that in season 1. But now we're looking at like the real talent of this black man. Can we talk about it? Like this black man in the kitchen, right? This beautiful chef in the kitchen, and we get to see his journey and how dedicated he is to his craft. And as the life that I'm living, as y'all all know, like it really hit home for me because I'm like, oh shit, like my guy's flying across the world for a few days just to make a dessert menu for a fucking in completely drowning in debt, like $800,000 in debt ass restaurant that's surrounded by this city, right? Like we followed Sydney this entire time, following these restaurants that were getting shut down or even not even like, being able to like start and open, right? And so he's flying across the world just to make a quick little dessert menu and learn the craft of it. That moment where he was like, oh, they turned the bread this way. They rolled it this way. Did y'all notice that? And then he goes back and he helps Will or whatever his name is. I think it's Luca with the bread.
Yes.
I was just like, yo, they're showing the passion. And I think what was cool about him saving the white man and the little cat moment was that he has a sense of care, right? And when you're passionate and talented and you can do all of that, but like Carmy, do we get that from Carmy? I think it was almost like, I don't want to use that, I use this term all the time, but like the juxtaposition of like most people that are talented and get to that kind of level, right, are fucking insane. We look at Mikey, we look at Carmy, we look at even fucking his mom, shout out Jamie Lee Curtis. Like we get these moments, but Marcus is he's all of that, but he's caring. And I fuck with that. I fuck with them doing that and being intentional and giving them that whole episode.
Oh, sorry. Sorry. I was just saying, and it's not lost on me that the season opens up. The first scene is Marcus sitting bedside with his mother in the hospital.
This is Marcus's season, y'all. Y'all sleep. I mean, we can 6-7 it all day, but y'all kind of sleep. Go ahead, Teach. Go ahead, TJ.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to unmute. My bad.
Okay. Go ahead, Juanita.
Yeah. This season, Marcus this season has favorite. As the only like main black people on the show, I'm heavily invested in he and Sydney's relationship. But that said, his trip to Copenhagen was one. It was very beautiful. It's a gorgeous city, and I want to get
I almost booked a flight. Y'all know how I've been this
look,
year. I almost booked a flight.
look. Just kudos firstly to Carmi and Sydney for even having the mind to send him. That was number one. Like one suggested, no, it was like, yeah, let's do that. When it's in
Right.
Copenhagen, you go and you learn this, and when you come back, you have this like you have this task to go do. So overall, like just taking a step back from the drama of the show, um, I really want to give, I guess, like Sydney and Carmi their just due as visionaries for the restaurant, because you watching this and you wouldn't like it. It's hard to recall that this is really a sandwich shop that was run kind of poorly.
Well, very poorly.
I'm being generous here. I'm being very
Yeah.
generous here.
Oh, it was a
It
fucking
was
disaster.
awful, but
Yeah.
here they're turning into a fine dining establishment. Here they're doing all of their sending their chefs everywhere, giving every
Led by a black woman, hun.
like
I wanted to say,
and it's
No, go ahead, Queenie.
absolutely incredible that we see deliberate character development this season.
Right.
Right.
I
Like
agree.
it's one of those seasons where should the show go on and the bear be about the restaurant, this season will be really kind of one of the standout seasons from the series in general, because it will be one that operates outside of the business operating.
Correct. I like that. I fuck with that. Edwin, go ahead.
Oh no! Shout out to Rami Youssef and Stacy Osei Kufor for writing that episode for of Marcus, because I feel like Christopher Storer, the creator of the show, knew that Marcus was a fan favorite for all the Bear fans. So I love that he was like, you know what, let's give Marcus a personal episode. And I like that each individual episode or each individual B story, like of Tina, like every story was perfect for each character.
Yo.
They didn't try to like make him too shy or too scared. It was like, no, this character, Marcus, he's a little scared on the spot. Not noticeable, but he's like, yeah, I'm a little nervous trying to put this little piece on the dessert. And Lucas is like, no, just be calm. You'll be fine. You'll get it. And then it was like, and shout out to Lloyd the Boys, because seeing like his career from like Odd Future days to like now being like a pretty impressive actor, and it's like it's so quiet, but it's like you feel the emotions and you feel like I want this guy to succeed so bad, and he's like he's not doing too much, he's just doing the right things, and I feel like the Copenhagen one was really so good, and I love the Holiday Road Lindsey Buckingham song. Like every day I'm at work, I play that song almost like when I feel happy, because it's like it's just so good, and I always think of the shots of the Copenhagen in my like at my job when I listen to that song.
Yes.
And I really thought like Will Poulter, I'm surprised at his turn of his career now. Like he used to be that skinny kid, and now he's like he's got it going for him this year. So I think like I love that the Marcus episode a lot. It was obviously it's going to be one of the best. I feel like Richie's is kind of like my personal one for me because I relate a little bit more to Richie, but I feel like Marcus was like really really great. And even though like the bike scene was kind of out of the ordinary, you just kind of I feel like the writer just drew that in to like have like some tension or like some strange stuff.
No, I hear you. I don't know that I have a theory about the bike scene, but Tej, Matt, it's time to celebrate episode 4. What y'all got to say about episode 4, the Marcus episode? Y'all too quiet for me. Go ahead, Tej.
I love the invisible cat. First of all, that was incredible, and the best kind of cats are cats that you don't ever see because I'm not a cat person.
Hold on.
Except I say
Sorry,
Pearl.
Aaron. No disrespect.
I say
And
Pearl.
second of all, I just think that like what they've done with the Marcus character and what they've done with really all the characters in the second season that were more supporting characters in our first seasons, it kind of allowed us to open up the universe to them. And seeing that scene with him and Will Poulter, and obviously we know as we're watching that scene that the guy that Will Poulter is talking about is Carmi, and that's that's our Carmi that he's talking about. It was just so amazing, and I just think that that actor had a lot more to do, and with that episode, it was just like a very special use of that character, and I love that for him. And the desserts that he ended up coming out with because of that visit were exquisite and they looked beautiful. So I really loved the
Yeah.
journey of that episode.
Yeah, and I think we're gonna call him. His name is L Boy. Lion. I think his name is like Lionel Boyce or something. But they call him L Boy, and he does a fantastic job. And to your point, and to like a lot of points that have been made thus far, what I fuck with, guys, is that season one was like, here's how fucking chaotic it is to run even a poorly run sandwich shop. Here's how fucking chaotic it is to follow Carmi's journey and be behind a two Michelin or three, how many one or two Michelin star rated restaurant. And as someone that has attended so many now, this is the power of TV, right? I went to like the best restaurant in Europe, the second best restaurant in the world, like 3 years running in Barcelona. And I was like, yo, this is the bear. This is the menu. What the fuck is going on? No spoilers for the menu, but y'all know what I'm talking about if you watch the menu. Although I'm alive here, guys, so thank goodness. But
You
it's
can
just like,
spoil that.
well, if you wouldn't have said anything, it would have been anything. But anyways, and so I think that I really appreciate that season one was like, and I think Juanita, you were hitting on it. Season one was like, here's how fucked up shit is for back of the house restaurant. And season two, what I like about season two is that if you think about your favorite show right now, was season two your favorite? And don't answer that, it's rhetorical, but think about it and come back to it. If you think about your favorite fucking show, was season two a hard hitter for you? And I think the writers and the directors and the producers understand that like season two can get like kind of, tucked under if you don't do it right. But they did the exposition, they did the development, they gave you the backstory. And so when we come back to the penultimate episode on the season finale where it's like, shit, we about to open, fuck, 45 minutes to open, 2 weeks to open and that kind of shit, it shows you like why all of these characters are committed to such fucking chaotic shit, right? And Edwin, your favorite episode being episode 7 relating to Richie, I fuck with that because I think that episode 7 really took you down a road to understand why Richie, this guy who could easily just go do something else and probably it would be much healthier for him, like Carmi looking out for him and finding that passion, finding that quote unquote purpose, right? They use that term very heavily. And I think season 2 is the purpose behind opening the bear. And I think it's always going to be remembered as the heart of this fucking show. And it shows you why everyone is so committed to not making any money, right? Actually going into debt over this shit and just loves their crafts and their craft and their people so much. Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, so I was thinking about how this season was very much the serious peopleification of the cast, right? Like we find reasons to root for and support pretty much everyone, especially Marcus, especially Richie. Those two are the top two for most improved player, right? Like we can all probably agree on that. What I really love about season 1 and also episode 6 is you see people all over the timeline asking like, yo, are restaurant kitchens really like this? The answer is 120% yes. What they don't tell you is that, and like mind you, I was like a dishwasher in a New York City pub, and basically they don't tell you that you hit kind of like a cruising altitude where everyone's like, oh my god, it's so stressful. Yeah, but you hit a certain point where it kind of just becomes like this weird, I don't know, poetry in motion where everyone is just working their asses off so much that the day kind of just flies by, and all of a sudden, boom, 12 hours have passed and it's the end of the shift, and you kind of hear your own thoughts coming back. I thought episode 6 was really good at being like, oh, we've lulled you into a false sense of security, and now we're going to, by the way, here's the 92 Dream Team of guest stars, and we're going to ratchet up the intensity right back to season 1 and beyond, and you're not going to know what's happening for the entirety of the episode. But what I really loved about this whole Marcus and Will Poulter, I forgot Will Poulter's character's name, the back and forth, is just how it's the polar opposite of all that. It's just a quiet two-person dialogue, and like they have the stage, and it's just so soft spoken. The whole thing about MJ and Scotty, and you're like, oh yeah, we've heard of him in London. You know what I mean? It's just, it shows you the range of the show, where it's normally turned up to 11, and in this one, it's just, well, what would it look like if these two characters, Will Poulter's kind of seems like maybe he's a little bit of a dick, but then you get to hear from him, and he's actually very like calm, and he's been humbled by life a little bit. He thought he was the best, and now he's not. It's just, for me, this season was where the show kind of went from being like, Mo, to answer your question, it feels like almost always yes. Season 1, it was cool. Like, it was a good season, but I felt like, holy shit, this is one of the best things on TV after watching this. And I feel like to land the plane a bit, the range from that one extreme to the other is part of why I feel this way.
Exactly. I mean, you say episode 4 or from like just the chaos, but like for me, that first episode, I don't know, guys. I don't know. I was triggered. I was anxious the whole time. That is literally the least anxious, overwhelming, stressful, episode. But there was just the anticipation. Like, and I tweeted immediately after watching the first episode of this season. I was like, no, it's not gonna be calm like this. They're not. They part of the allure of this show is that it's so fucking chaotic for these characters. That first episode, I was like, y'all, and then boom, we get that countdown timeline, which I love. That you can really, writers and people can get really lazy with like the superimposed, like 2 weeks later, 2 weeks before, 5 months ago, and that shit can be like a crutch. But man, they used it, and it made everything hit harder. It's like, oh shit, okay, we got 7 weeks left to open. What are we gonna do? I had a really good time with that. Aaron, go ahead.
I was going to say 2 things, because I think the one word that we're all like skirting around when we're talking about the difference in character from season 1 to season 2 and their growth and how they're all like, finding their own footing. The thing that is that they've been given ownership. They have been given ownership and responsibility to now be a part of the restaurant, not just come in, bake bread and leave, not just be a line chef and just leave. They now have taken ownership in the restaurant, and they now, like, just when Marcus found dude smoking crack in the back, like he didn't even know if he should fire him or not. And I was like, it's so cute. Like, bless his heart.
I love that.
He had to go
also very realistic for restaurants. Sorry.
It is very
Matt,
realistic.
our resident, is this real or not?
They have that sense of ownership now this season, that they're all like growing into that, which is, and what I was going to say, my second point with the Richie episode, which is probably one of my top favorite episodes. I can't go back and decide which one is my favorite, but season 1, I looked at Richie and I was like, I don't, give or take, whatever. And then I realized the brilliance of the writing, the brilliance of the cast, and how that one episode, you look at his character, and I was like, you know what? That feeling of me not knowing who the fuck he was is because he didn't know who the fuck he was. That's brilliant. And the fact that you see it in that episode, like, and then he becomes so self-assured. And again, he now has ownership. He's taking ownership of his piece of that restaurant. I was like, yo, fucking brilliant. A+.
Yes, for me, and I like that term too, but for me it was like the term purpose, which was Richie's kind of, we said it in the first episode. It's like every character has found their purpose, right? And not saying that they didn't have it before, but now they're just familiar with it. They're in tune with it. They're using their purpose to make the success of this show, or this restaurant, fucking amazing. And that crack scene, let me tell you something. They did that perfectly. Shout out to Marcus being the caring one. Once again, I keep telling y'all, my guy's a caring man. Okay, I like him. But him finding that cook that just like kind of ran out opening night, like what the hell? Like, we just opened, bro, and you're going to smoke crack. Yeah, it makes me do well. And there's just the little teeny tiny inserted like moments where we remember that he was the one you saw how he was cutting up those vegetables really fast. Like, obviously I'm partial and biased, but like as a writer, these motherfuckers took their time. The same way Carmi probably takes his time to make a dish scientifically, aesthetically, properly. Like these motherfuckers took their time. There is not one loop left open. There, I don't know, but there is not one thing that's left open. And it's so fucking cool to watch everything matter and everything have purpose and watch all these characters. Like, when you say ownership, I think Tina. Like, I cried. I watched the first episode twice, guys. I cried both times. Knew it was about to happen, knew exactly what was said. I cried both times because Tina found her purpose within that first episode. And that was just so fucking cool to watch. I keep saying fucking because this is like a very vulgar show, so I should be all right. But it was just Tina's moment of becoming a sous chef to the fucking owner of this restaurant, right? A black Latina sue for a black woman that's opening this restaurant, right? I'm just like, yo, the bear gets it. I want to welcome the goof who sat by the door to the stage.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, so my biggest thoughts about the show, especially as a whole, not just second season, is that the first season seemed more of like an introduction, like, hey, these are these people that work at this horrible restaurant. And in season two, you either get a growth arc or an origin arc from them. So
Yep.
with Tina, you get that first introduction, like, hey, this is this kind of crass woman that doesn't really like the people she works with, but this is her place. This is her domain. And then season two, you get her growth as a chef and taking responsibility and having people like give her that, like, hey, we believe in you. We're not here to
Yes.
push you out, which
Right.
is what a lot of the things that she dealt with in season one with Sydney. Like she kept messing with Sydney because she felt like, oh, this is just someone here to push me out or take my spot.
Yes.
But with
Yeah.
season two, it became clear that this is a collaborative effort, and
Yes.
I have a place in this, and I have a responsibility. And you have Marcus, who in season one didn't get enough shine, in my opinion. But in
Right.
season two, you get a little bit of his origin story, like with his story with his mom, and then how intense he can be as a baker. Now he suffered from that tunnel vision in season one, and how he uses that to focus into season two, but it
Mm-hmm.
still gets in the way with like how his relationship with Sid just kind of messes up the kitchen for a couple of steps before they get back into their rhythm.
Yep.
And then with Carmi, season one, you're just like, oh, his only backstory is, oh, his brother died, left in the restaurant. He had a horrible relationship with his brother, and then you meet his mom in season two, and you realize, oh, this is the reason why he has such a complex feeling with just family as a whole, not just his
Yep.
brother or his sister, but his family as a whole and happiness.
Yeah.
Such a distinct
Ep-
thing for him.
yeah. Episode 6 was very much, oh, this whole family's fucked up. Got it. Right. Which is
Yeah.
like almost always true, right? You see one fucked up person, you're like, damn, how was your childhood? Right? Like, does your mom love you? Do you have daddy issues? Right? Like, we know, we're on Twitter, guys. We always go right there, like, are you okay? And Carmi's basically like, no, I'm not okay. Right? And we get in the first or second episode, I can't remember, where Carmi is like interrogating what fun is. Right? And I'll tell you guys, like, my whole life is fun and joy right now. And it really, like, just, I love television, right? That's why we're doing this. Welcome to What We Watch. Follow What We Watch Film TV. I think it was so cool because the moments where he's vulnerable in his little, group. Is it? I forget. Is it an AA group or is it just like a group therapy group?
It's
Group
Al-Anon, which is like
therapy or
family
Al-Anon.
members
Okay,
for
so it's just
people
like
who
a.
are alcoholics.
Oh, okay, okay. And so, when he's like, I looked up fun in the dictionary, and I was like, yo, if you don't know anything about this show, and it's like, all right, tell me about each of these characters, and succinctly now, because you got about 2 minutes to tell me about every character. I would describe Carmi by, he's a guy that'll Google fun, and I think it was cool for them to say that because it really showed you that like Carmi, obviously the most successful, right? And they touch on that multiple times where they have Sydney like, you're the one that has a Michelin star. He's like, no, I just maintained it, right? You got this like insanely talented, but like oddly humble, but not really humble in like the endearing sense, almost in the like self-sabotaging, self-hate sense. And then you have them like, what is fun, right? Because why would you do this shit that you do that gives you no money, that gives you nothing but stress all the time? You can't even, have a relationship. We're going to talk about Claire, guys. I have strong feelings about that relationship, and I need y'all to temper my feelings. But, okay, Aaron, thank you. I have strong feelings about that. But, Carmi's going through that. I'm like, it was so fucking dope because I don't know if any of y'all are going through it. If you've ever Googled fun, I hope this is like some form of therapy for you, but I think therapy is a good idea. But like Carmi's really going through it, guys. And I think it's cool that we're getting to see that journey, but like of a person who can't relate, that just throws themselves into their work, throws themselves into everything else, and is like, fine, like I obviously need therapy. My family cares enough, my sister cares enough to say, hey, I need to do this, right? Because that's what happened in season 1. So I really appreciated that we got to see his mom drive a car, shout out Jamie Lee Curtis, into the house. Because it's like, oh, that's why you're in therapy. And that's why you're like, you have this weird relationship with fun, right? I want to welcome David to the stage, but go ahead, Juanita, and then Luke and David.
Yeah, so speaking to your point about season twos, Molly reminded of The Wire and the reception their season 2 gets relative to how good the rest of those seasons are. But
Yeah.
if you understand The Wire, you know that show does not do anything without that season 2. It sets the table for everything else.
Okay.
And The Bear does that, but I think it kicks it up a notch. In which case, it takes the storytelling from season 1 and kicks it into high drive. I remember
Mm.
watching season 1 and somebody was like, "Oh, I can't wait for season 2. Season 2 is this," and somebody else responded was like, "They don't need the season 2. Is that because." If The Bear had just been that one season and been a limited series, I would have been satisfied. It was good enough. Like, it was good enough.
Yo,
That was fine. Yeah.
you spitting right now, for real.
But
Yep.
but they came back and they gave us a season 2. And this season 2 feels like we got at least another season coming, just on the way that they set and they really develop the characters and really get to sit with these characters. There is the dynamics of the season are much different. I highly cherish the quiet moments, like I said earlier, because of how high their highs get. Like when it's hectic. Um, but like I was saying, as far as this particular season though, just a beautiful job in terms of, if I'm to liken it to cooking, they prepared their ingredients to prepare to cook the meal. Like, and sometimes you got to peel some stuff, you got to chop some things, you got to brown this meat before you put it back into the stew so the whole dish tastes properly. This is kind of what that season was for me. And
Yeah. Mhm.
it's absolutely stunning. Shout out. I'm seeing like different guest appearances like listed, and I want to give a huge shout out to Robert Townsend. Just
Yeah.
just in outside of The Bear, just a huge shout out to Robert Townsend for being one of the goats. And for him to be on the season was excellent. Will Poulter, he's come a long way. Like I remember from We're the Millers and Eyebrows, yeah. But it's actually Detroit.
Yes.
It's actually is important. It's his performance in Detroit that really fucks with me. He was absolutely terrifying, and for him to be that now is excellent. He's a great actor. Um,
I think earlier you were talking a little bit, and I don't know that I agreed or disagreed, but I think it was you, and correct me if I'm wrong, that was like commenting on the comedy aspect of this show. And it's interesting now because I'm thinking about it, right? We got Olivia Colman. Like, did y'all watch The Lost Daughter? Did y'all watch like Olivia Colman on this fucking show? Is amazing. You got Jamie Lee Curtis, who just won a fucking Oscar too. Like, what are we
mhm.
talking about right now? You got Will Poulter. Like, this guy's been doing TV for years now, So like we're getting these amazing hard hitters, right? And I know I'm missing a couple. I have my resident Italian in the room with me.
Sarah Paulson.
Correct.
John
Oh my
Mulaney
God.
popped up, and it wasn't like any jokes.
Yo,
That was
John
crazy.
Mulaney and Sarah Paulson in the same fucking like episode, just going back and forth. Like that shit was crazy. So, but I think, if you remember, and I don't know if y'all saw this conversation on Twitter recently, but people were like, "Yo, where are the cameos in shows now? Like, remember when like celebrities would just like show up on shows, guys? That doesn't happen anymore. Like, where are the and that happened a lot in like sitcoms and comedies, Juanita.
Mhm.
So low key, you kind of might be onto something because I mean, we're not talking about like regular, like these are the actors. You get what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah.
Like these are the celebrities for this like specific genre and this media and this fucking, production. Like we have Olivia Colman, Sarah Paulson, fucking John Mulaney, fucking,
John Bernthal,
Jamie Lee
Bob
Curtis,
Odenkirk.
Bob
John
Odenkirk,
Bernthal,
acting their face.
Robert Townsend, and everybody is fucking bodying every, like, you just get introduced to the character and you're immediately invested. And I think that's so fucking cool because like they're doing it in, like, again, we laugh a lot at this show, right? I don't know about y'all, but like I laugh a lot, I cry a lot too.
It's very
But
funny.
it's a very funny show, and it does like have like that element of sitcomness to not only to like the characters being in there, but like those cameos, but like it's fucking funny, and the beats are very similar to a comedy. They know what they're doing in that fucking writer's room. They know exactly what the fuck they're doing, and the creator's doing what needs to be done. And I want to comment one last time, and then I'll let Luke speak because we got to talk about episode 6 as the Italians in the room. Me and Luke.
Italian
It
o'clock.
is literally
Correct.
it's why I came here. Like
exactly. I mean,
reason
it's
showed up,
Italian
I was
time.
like, I'm just talking
You gotta
episode
explain.
6.
You definitely gotta
7:17.
explain
We're
the
talking
7 fishes
Italian.
to
All
this.
right. Let tweet everybody know tweet everybody and let everybody know it's Italian time. Me and Luke are gonna take the stage for now. If you're Italian, please feel free to come on up. But I just want to say, like, shit, I forgot what I was gonna say because I'm so focused on my heritage of being Italian. Go ahead, Luke, and I'll come back to it.
I mean, I don't even really know where to start other than that episode being the most seen I've ever felt in a singular episode of a TV show. Like, as somebody whose grandmother had borderline personality disorder and turned every Christmas Eve into just I can't even put it into words, but like I almost couldn't finish it. I had to call my mother several times. We had to have like a group therapy session about the episode and like rehashing how real it was. The only discrepancy I'll say is her being messy upset me because that doesn't really fall in line with that kind of
Italian
mental
matriarch
disorder. Like when she was smearing the garlic butter with her fingers, I was like, "This is taking me out. The immersion's broken." But everything else, the crosstalk banter, I mean, they nailed it. The way everybody's talking simultaneously to an almost maddening effect. The scene in which Bob Odenkirk, as like sort of the non-Italian outsider, calls out Mikey for repeating the same stories every year.
Relatable.
I've seen that happen in real life, and watched as just the color left somebody's face as they just felt called out. I mean, everything about it. I mean, I'll let everybody else kind of jump in and talk about things, but I since the screen on The Sopranos went black, like nothing on TV have I looked at with just like awe of like, oh my God.
Exactly. And as a Black Italian, we exist, guys. We exist.
I do have a question. Can you explain the 7 fishes for me?
It's just like so Italians really are big on Christmas Eve versus Christmas Day. Like we don't do shit Christmas Day, and I guess I couldn't tell you exactly why.
Latinos do that too, by the way. It's very Catholic.
It's a southern,
as an Italian Latina, I can
it's
confirm.
It's a southern Italian tradition. My family doesn't do it because my mom is not big on seafoods like that. But it's I don't even know the full origins of it, but there are 7 fish dishes from clams, you name it. They're branzino, blah, blah, blah. So the part that was hilarious was him bringing the 8th fish, which would be the largest faux pas fucking imaginable. Because it would be considered bad luck, and that's why they pitched it out the door.
Yes. I mean, Juanita, I think the seven fishes thing was described in the episode. Like,
Well,
they hit
that's the
what,
argument, and
like,
that's what starts the fight, though, is the
right,
Polish guy keeps trying to tell everybody else what it actually means, and
what
they're
it
like,
is.
we don't really
Exactly.
care what it actually means. Like,
Exactly. We just fucking do it every year,
yeah.
right? Like, guys, let's talk about what tradition is. Like, can you explain all of your traditions and the historical, like, origins of everything there? Like, probably not. You're probably gonna get some shit wrong, which is why they kind of took you through that journey where it's like, okay, he's interrupting, mom says the completely whole story, and then dad comes in and is like, that's not what it is at all. It's like, and so the whole family is just arguing, but like they all came together as one, right? Because it's like, well, what we're not going to do is bring an eighth fish. We don't know what the fuck the seven fishes is, but we're not going to bring tuna into this. Like, what the fuck are you doing?
And it's
you
also
fucking
like
lunatic.
there's so much of it that it's mindless tradition, but the part that really got to me was the idea that nobody even enjoys it. They're like, Mom, nobody eats this shit. Like, they eat all the other stuff. They just do the seven fishes because they're supposed to.
And as a Black Italian woman, I think what hit hardest for me was her Jamie Lee Curtis. What a fucking performance! Like, I feel like I watched a movie. Like that I don't know if y'all realize, but we got a couple hour episodes, guys. They went by so perfectly and so fast. I don't know if you guys realized, but they were hour, and this one was an hour episode. I'm like, damn, this feels like a movie. But what really hit hard for me culturally was like her simultaneously wanting help, but get the fuck out of the kitchen.
Yeah.
Was anybody else triggered by that? I'm like, what
there,
do you want me to help you? But like, you don't like.
Look, when you need help, but the only help available is bad help. Fuck that.
But then you still want.
And my grandmother used to do it too. It's you build this idea of what Christmas is supposed to be in your mind, and you put all this weight on yourself that everything has to be perfect, but nobody else cares. Like, we just want Christmas. We just want to hang out and drink wine, eat some food, whatever. But they create this like laundry list of like 15 things need to go off without a hitch, and you put all this pressure on yourself for something that only matters to her.
And then the rest of us catch shit for it, right? It's like, wait, we don't even like, we're just happy that we get to see our cousins. Like, you know, like the facts are like my favorite guys. Like, they're the ones that really get family, still confrontation, not afraid of conflict, but just like super chill. We're going to play some games. We're going to make some bets. We're going to show a touch of our gambling problem at the Christmas Eve dinner, you know, but like, notice that they never really caused any issues. Like, the Fact brothers were just there being bros, you know, and I really love that. I'm not sure. I'm a little unclear why I said Italians to the stage and Nigerian Henry came up. I'm a little bit unclear about that. Henry, is there a reason why you joined us to talk?
There is. I'm tired of the Black Italian propaganda. I need you're stealing shine from my boy Luke here.
Okay,
he's representing for his country.
Are you silencing Black Italian women? Yes or no? I'm confused.
Anyways, I'm not doing this with you right now. All right. We love Italians, Black Italians, wherever y'all are.
We're right here.
Come get your girl because she's embarrassing right now.
I want to welcome you, but I want to let David speak and Aaron speak. I know y'all been having your hand up. Go ahead, David. Welcome to the stage.
Thank you. How you doing, everybody? Yeah, I just wanted to kind of wrap this around the and give big kudos to the casting department, because I feel as though while we're talking about all of these different people that they had that are these names that we all know and from other shows that became big through these other shows, it's what was standing out to me, not just in this particular episode, but throughout the season with the different people that they had, wasn't just that, oh, that's Olivia Colman or, oh, that's Will Poulter, but how well they stitched them into the fabric of this particular show. Because a lot of times, even when we love the cameos, they really aren't a part of what the show is. And as a matter of fact, the whole thing is, oh my gosh, look at this thing that is standing out. It's Brad Pitt on Friends. And that's what you're doing. You're not really caring whether Brad Pitt is actually living into the character or whether he's bringing something to the television. television show. You're just like, oh my God, who that is. And instead here, these people seamlessly just shaded right into that world. And I started forgetting every last one of them was somebody that was doing something else or had been doing something else or was this kind of person. I believe them as simply the people that were in that world. And especially in this particular episode where Jamie Lee Curtis, to me, just performance-wise, going off what you were talking about, is just, it's important to be that big in the first place because you need to show, as you guys I think have alluded to before, that she is kind of a source code for every, not just for Carmy, for every last one of these kids. You want to start looking at the previous episodes to start seeing how they're moving and how they're acting. It's a lot of what she did. She's this bubble that everyone kind of revolves around, and everyone moves in, including Oliver Platt coming into the kitchen, raising his hands up, hey, I'm not touching anything, I'm not doing anything, because we all have mothers like that. But then on top of that, the things that she does, the suicidal thoughts that she consistently has that they have to care for, they have to be always on their guard for, the way that her outbursts continue out. It's the reason why Carmy is always going, I expect the other shoe to drop, because you can never just believe everything is going well when you're around her. You saw that in the episode. So she creates this in her children. She creates the caregiver that is Natalie, in the fact that she was caring so much about the restaurant. Sid had to go to make her an omelet just to remind her to fucking feed herself. Because, again, she spends all that time on her mother and caring for her. So it was really important. And these characters provided that for you as to what was going on. Odenkirk is perfect. What's his name? Mulaney is perfect. Sarah Paulson is perfect.
I want to stop you. I'm going to let you finish for sure. But I want to stop you because I feel like, you know, and I don't want you to feel rushed. You hit on a couple of really fire things, David. And I really fuck with that. Because let me tell you something. The fact that you just said, and I think it captures perfectly why Sugar, Carmy, and Richie are the way they are. For their mother, they have to care for her and her, you know, S-word attempts, but they also have to be careful. That was a profound statement that you just made. It really colors exactly why those three people are so fucked up in the head, but also simultaneously like successful in their own ways. Because they had to learn to care for a person, but also be careful for the exact same thing. And I think any of us on any level have a person in our lives or had a person in our lives where it's like, there's this one thing that makes me care for you, but also makes me have to be careful and puts me on edge. And that's fucking deep, right? I fuck with that heavy. I really, really like the way you worded that. And then secondly, you know, not to rush, but we have to reiterate what you just said, because that was my point earlier. You just took it a step further with the comedic aspect, the cameo aspect, the sitcom aspect. It is very much, oh my gosh, here's Brad Pitt in this show, and not, oh yeah, that was Brad Pitt. Right. And it delicately, like you said, they weave every single hard hitter into the fabric of the show, that it's almost secondary that you got Sarah Paulson, Miss Crazy filmography, right, in this show. You got John Mulaney, crazy fucking career trajectory in this show. And it's like that the celebrity part is so secondary, which is where I think like this show is different and higher, right? I don't want to say higher in comparison, but just like, it's not just sitcom comedy, and not saying that that's a problem, but it's like, this is where the drama is. And this is how you integrate a hard hitter. It's like, yeah. We don't care that you're a hard hitter. You're going to hard hit in the way that we want you to. And that just speaks to the actors themselves. So go ahead, keep going.
Exactly that. And that was so vital to me, having watched a lot of different TV shows where I see people and I'm happy they're there. And I'm like, oh, damn. And even sometimes they're acting their ass off, too. But it's just like, really, this is kind of an outlier to what the rest of the tone of the show might be, or something like that, or even something as terrible or horrible as Ed Sheeran in fucking Game of Thrones. I was just totally like, what the fuck and why the fuck?
Right.
But
right.
But when it comes to that kind of integrity, to say that yes, we're hiring you, Will Poulter, but we have an exact job for you to do within the context of this show. Yes, we're getting you Jamie Lee Curtis, and yes, we want you to ball out and act your ass off, but we want you to see. I remember watching that scene in the beginning, and I rewatched this episode twice, and you see Michael, which the other MVP of that episode, besides obviously Jamie Lee Curtis, is Jon Bernthal. Everything he's doing in there is fucking insane. But he and Natalie are outside talking at the beginning of the episode, and you don't know it, you're already hearing Jamie Lee Curtis yelling her fucking head off inside the door. And then you see these two, they're talking about her but they're huddled up so fucking close, like they're telling each other fucking secrets or something, even though they're outside, well outside of her hearing. That's her reach. That's how much power she has over them. And when you then see John Bernthal later on talking to Carmy, and Carmy just wants him so bad to let him be a part of this thing. And John is dealing with his own demons that are very similar to his mother's. And he can't tell this because, again, that's how suicidal ideation works. People never know what you're thinking. They don't know why you're being distant. And then he has his breakdown right after Carmy leaves him. And the same thing was happening with his mother only a few minutes earlier in the kitchen when she gives it all to Natalie. And then Natalie leaves and she has this breakdown and she's just whispering to herself, they don't fucking need me. No one will ever fucking care when I leave. And it's that same sort of thing. So you see all this connection that they did. As you said, the writers and the casting department, those are my two aces of this, not only this episode, but the end season.
Yeah, casting. Shout out to casting, because I'm telling you, we got Jamie Lee Curtis, Everything Everywhere All at Once. Dare I say that this performance was...
Oh, it's not even debatable.
It was this is not a hot take at all.
That is not a hot take. I agree with you.
It's time to have a
She should have got that Oscar for this role.
I'm telling you, this felt like a movie, guys. I'm trying to...
Best she's ever been.
You know what she said? I heard all that chatter. Bet. Look, let me show you how I deserve this Oscar. Heard the chatter, Miss Angela Bassett. She said, heard. I said, damn, hold on now. Go ahead, Aaron. Thank you for waiting.
Oh, no problem. Well, it's so funny. I had something to say when a person said something like 20 minutes ago, and then we've moved on. And I'm like, wait, so to go back.
Go back. No,
but actually, no, two things. One, the Seven Fishes. So as somebody who is baptized Catholic, current atheist, shout out to the Catholic to atheist pipeline. The Seven Fishes. So it's kind of made up, but the bottom line is that, okay, so like on Good Friday, we eat fish. We don't eat, beef. We don't eat chicken, pork, whatever, because those are big game, quote unquote, are reserved for our large feast days, our large celebration days, so to speak, or like our Sunday dinner, whatever, or Christmas Day. Seven Fishes was kind of invented, not gonna lie. Like, I think somebody just made that shit up like 40, 50
to not eat
ago. Like,
Christmas
it's not really
Eve.
real, but from what I learned, it was from like the Seven Sacraments, but it falls in line with eating, like awaiting the birth of Jesus, like the Christmas Eve dinner the night before Jesus was born. They're awaiting, sitting vigil for his birth, and the Seven Fishes dinner on Christmas Eve was the tradition.
I ain't gonna lie to you.
Seven was in correlation, from what I learned. I think it's different, but in correlation to the Seven Sacraments. But that wasn't even my point that I was raising my hand for.
Go ahead.
I was just explaining, but because what oh yeah, Tina, you brought up Tina earlier. I thought like my heart, because in speaking about her joy in becoming a sous chef, in her face, I don't think we even saw her that happy all of season one.
We did.
I don't think we ever saw her like that.
She was pissed all of season one.
She was upset, and then to see her finding again her purpose and finding some ownership in the restaurant, as it is related to her, kind of right-hand man, Ibrahim, who felt like he was losing his place, who felt like everything was coming up around him and everybody was moving without him. And when she started singing that karaoke song, can I tell y'all how hard I cried? Do y'all want to know?
I'm about to cry right now. What do you mean?
And it was the most heartbreaking thing, because we keep talking about the purpose that everybody kept finding this season. And and in the back of my head, while we keep talking about it, I keep reminding myself about Ibrahim and how he was the one who found it was so hard for him. Everybody else was like kind of falling into theirs, and he struggled so much. Like, it broke my heart, and to see her so happy, and they were there together during the beef days, side by side, and he just felt like, again, everything was just like moving around him and moving beyond him, and he felt like he didn't have any place anymore. It was amazing. But anyway, I love that Tina and him still had that bond, and even though they still were able to bring him through with everybody, and they didn't forget about him, because I was about to shed a tear when he wasn't showing up a couple episodes. I was like, hold on.
Right. And he's our guy, right? Because I think we all have that, if you're Black and or Italian like me. You have that person in your family that's like, I don't need to go to no damn school. I cook better than everybody in this motherfucking room. Like, what are you talking about, right? And so I like how they put the two characters in that position to go to school. And Tina was like, a doe-eyed kid, and Abraham was like,
Yeah,
what the fuck? What are we
eager to
on right now?
learn.
Yes, and so you could tell that everybody was finding their purpose. But Matt, go ahead. Thank you for waiting.
Yeah, my fault. I want to go back to what you were talking about in terms of why the siblings are the way they are, and also to Luke's point about Luke, you brought up, BPD and Jamie Lee Curtis and her portrayal of this. I thought it was really kind of like, for anyone who does have relatives, that kind of push and pull of, I need you to help me, but don't help me. I'm making something beautiful for you, but no one gives a shit about me. All of that. She nailed that. And by the way, I did not really, I didn't dislike her performance in everything, everywhere, all at once. It's just that, I didn't think she deserved all of that attention. The way she kind of played up, like, and I'm sorry for using like the psych word for it, but the comorbidities, right? Like, you don't know if it's alcohol, if there's alcohol involved, or how much. You don't know if like, they don't give a name to what she has, but it fits the criteria of like 3 or 4 different things. The reason I want to loop this back into the kids is because, something along the lines of like 30% of your personality, some number like that, is hereditary and passed down through just straight up, through the genetics, right?
Right.
And then you look at, Mikey, who is on something. We never know what it is, even though Bob Odenkirk in, full on Better Call Saul mode, it says, if you can hear me through the fog, like, kind of, he's alluding, he's on something, but we don't know what it is. So we know there's some allusions to substance abuse. You have Carm, who's in, whatever Anonymous that he's in. And then, like, the reason I said that thing about, the new guy being on crack, restaurants are such a high stress environment that substance abuse is like synonymous with it. And like, you cannot have a high functioning back of the house without there being a lot of people on especially like stimulants and things like that, of that nature. So it is kind of like, these kids had to they were either going to go in one direction of being so functional that they can't do anything else, right, or they were going to go in the direction of like, we're going to be, on something, and kind of in the same vein as the mother in terms of just not being able to regulate. Also, my last point before I get off this, if you see someone like that, please, for the love of God, don't ask if they're okay in front of a room full of people who are walking around on themselves. Yo. My fucking God.
And the way they build up to it, right? Because they were like, sugar, please don't do that. Please don't do that. And it's like, it is almost second nature when, if you don't have any experience with these type of people and you're a child and it's your mother, it's like, are you okay? Are you okay? You feel okay? Are you okay? And it's like, that will drive people mad. I mean, I don't even have to be like in an issue. It's almost like asking someone to relax. It's like, bro, like, just, I'm good. Like,
hey,
please
calm down. Don't
like,
do that.
Yeah. Don't calm down. Are you okay? Relax. No, don't do that. I want to welcome Balling and Biscuits to the stage. I see you got Every Second Counts in your header. What's up?
Hello, my name is Darius. So a lot of this relates to me because I actually work in industry as well. So I reflect basically on it. Like episode 4 is probably the best one to me.
Okay, perfect. We're here.
Because it reminds me of like my experience of like traveling through the industry. Like I literally just got a new job as well. So just learning different things and just experiencing different like cultures as well. But like being able to like travel and learn from different chefs, it definitely changes your view on a lot of things and makes you inspired, actually.
That's great. So do you feel like very seen in this show? I really like this for you. I want to know, I feel like the chef's been kind of quiet. Have y'all seen any chefs tweeting about this show?
A lot of my friends have talked about it, but it depends on, I guess, the group that you're around, basically.
I feel like I haven't seen a lot of chefs, and I feel like the chefs be posting all their stuff. But I don't know. I'm glad to hear like someone that's in the industry like really appreciate what this show is doing. It reminds me kind of like Abbott Elementary. I feel like I saw every single teacher celebrate like the way this show is. At least the ones that work in like schools similar to Abbott, right? They were just like, yo, they did their research. They consulted the right people. They are hitting this. Edwin, go ahead.
Oh, to just go back to episode 6 real quick. I feel like there's one scene that is really important for Carmi's story, and that's when Sarah Paulson, FX alumni,
Period.
playing cousin Michelle, when she's like has like the little space between her and Carmi. She's like, "Hey, how you doing? Everything okay?" And this is like the part of like where Carmen is at Copenhagen, like learning and all that stuff, and she's like, Carmen, you have a gift. Is like, I really don't expect you to come back here to Chicago or be with the family anymore. So why not
Yeah.
just come live with me and John Mulaney at New York City? Well, you could find a job there. Like you could just live with us, just so
Right.
you can have a part of, or like just work on your craft, work on what you love. And I thought that was really important to his Carmen's story, because it's like, now it's not really an origin story. We're just getting into the middle of his life, of like seeing like how him, Sugar, were able to handle all of this mess of a family. And you just be like, wow. And watching this episode, like, it really triggered me, because I've been the Sugar character, but also I've been kind of like the Mikey character, where I was just like, I'm egging you on, like, bring it, like, we're like in the middle of family dinner. It's like I'm ready to make things way uncomfortable. So
Yep.
it was like, I was like, Jesus Christ. It was like, where do they get this stuff? And also, like, I don't know, like, you're a screenwriter, so I don't know like how they would sequence a season of per episodes, but like this episode of like learning Richie, like he wants to get out the bear because he sees like Mikey's fucking up. He sees like things are going to start going to shit, and he wants to leave the bear. So when he asks like the Oliver Platt character for a job, you see like it's sad because it's like he's not getting out, and it's been like what, like 256 weeks since the restaurant opens, so it's been like 5 years. And that's like the hard part that hits in the next episode with the Forks episode, because he like, damn, this guy's been
Exactly.
working at the bear and he was like 40 at least.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? Go ahead.
And you see like the Jillian Jacobs character, and she was perfect. Like, it was like a really small role, but she was like, oh, like you can see like why they love each other. Like he actually cared about her, doing like silly faces, and it's the same silly faces that he did with his daughter. I was like, God damn!
I'm
like,
telling you, these writers
oof.
are
Yeah,
hitting
go
it,
ahead.
right?
Go ahead.
And I think that I love that episode. Like for me, it's my favorite fact is that like the name of the episode is Forks, right? And it's like, what the fuck are we about to watch? And it's like you open with this crazy scene of him just like cleaning forks, and you know when Richie's on screen, we're about to get, okay, he's bored, he's this, that, and the third, he got something to say, blah 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 blah. But then we switch to like a fucking 80s action movie. And David, I feel like you probably know what I'm talking about. Like when it's like these two guys are like walking through, the music scene changes, and we're like, all right, let's see how Richie gets thrown into like, it wasn't giving like John Wick, but it's giving like 80s action movie. I can't think of any names right now, but it's definitely giving like late 80s, early 90s, maybe like mid 80s action movie where we're following Richie through like learning about it. And it was so fucking cool because again, the show is about opening a restaurant. And I think, Edwin, what you're talking about, what we're hitting on is that like Richie is looking for his purpose. And I think the reason why maybe, and I think it was you earlier that said like, I relate to Richie most. I think let's not divorce ourselves too much from this quote unquote industry, this restaurant industry, right? If we think about it, a lot of this show is like, why are these people doing this fucked up thing that's like looks fucked up on screen, but why are they doing this? Why do they love it so much? Oh, okay, we understand the backstories, understand the passion. They just really love this. But like if you step out a little bit, eventually, and I think it was Matt saying earlier, you get numb to the bullshit, right? You get numb to your workplace's bullshit. And if I dilute it to that, is this not relatable, guys? Like you guys maybe are not like the most passionate about what you're doing, but from a perspective of like having to make a living, you kind of get numb to the bullshit, and we can relate to these characters in this restaurant industry if we like take it to that point. And I think Richie is like, damn, how much do I love what I'm doing? And if I do love what I'm doing, do I have to do it here at the Bear, or can I do it somewhere else? I'm having such a fun moment. Like, he got so much instant gratification from like improving and going from like doing the forks and like him stepping outside to talk to him and be like, hey, Carmy sent you here for a reason. Carmy did this, and that. I'm finding my purpose. I'm excited. But then we get to the end of that episode and Richie immediately goes to Carmy, and what does he say? Is he thankful? Is he grateful? Or is he like, yo, what the fuck? Fuck you. You think I'm a fucking joke? And I thought that was so cool because we got so attached to Richie that episode and we were so excited. And he was also visibly excited. And it was like, but no. You don't fix this 5-10 year grieving, this fucked upness, this feeling of lawlessness in a week at a restaurant. I still don't fuck with you, Carmy, right? It's basically what Richie's saying. But thank you for like helping me towards my purpose. But like, you can still resent someone even if they're helping you be better. It's like, boy, fuck you. You had me cleaning forks, right? But this whole time he meets like, Chef Terry, played by Olivia Colman, and he gets to talk to her about why she peels mushrooms, right? Why she's separate from the rest, right? She reminds Chef Terry, and you see the Chef Terry and the Carmy alignment where Carmy's always the first one in the restaurant in the first season. And then this season he's walking into the restaurant crazy hours of the night, but Sugar and Sid are already there. Like, that shit is dope. That shit is intentional, right? Now Carmy is not like the only one that's invested in the Bear. And that's it's little moments like that the show really shows you that like all of these characters are about to build this family. And in order for a family to like function in a workplace, we all have to know our purpose. So I really fucked with Richie. Like, that episode is perfect. And for me, it's not even the writing that I loved. The directing and the editing was absolutely insane, you guys. Please watch that episode again. They give you like 5 different genres in one episode. It's insane. It is so fucking good. I immediately looked up who directed and wrote that, and I was like, yo, this is amazing editing, amazing soundtrack. It was perfect. And they named it Forks because it did. Again, he was like, y'all got me cleaning forks. And that is something that like, that to me felt like a sports, one of the sports dramas, right? Think about sports movies where it's like, man, I started off doing this and nobody respected me and blah, 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 blah. And man, I'm this type of man and you got me out here practicing every day with these bum ass niggas, coach. That's what that first part of that episode was, And then the second part, you get this 80s action movie. And then the third part, you get like this romantic like movie. It is very, very, very good. Like, again, I'm still at episode 4 girly, and obviously 6 and 7 are perfection in their own way. But 7 was literally like, I think it should be studied. I think it should be studied in every writer's room. I think it should be studied for every director. Because, like, here's how you can make a cohesive episode and take it anywhere the fuck you want and switch genres, switch sounds, switch, like, tempo. It was just so much fun. Henry, go ahead.
Yeah, this was my favorite episode of the season. It was cool. I've been waiting for them to let Ebon Moss-Backrack cook. Like, he's a really good actor. I liked him in The Punisher quite a bit. But yeah, watching him figure out that his purpose is not the process, but his people, like, that was just a dope transformation throughout the episode to watch. And I think this episode kind of exemplifies why I love the show so much, because not knowing anything about the culinary world, you can watch this one episode and just fucking get it.
Yes.
Like, the guy runs to grab a deep dish pizza and watches this chef perform absolute fucking sorcery on a slice of deep dish pizza, and you get it.
Sorcery
indeed. I'm like, okay. I'm like, what is he doing? He opens it up. He looks at it. He's like, all right, what the fuck am I going to do with this? And then just goes to work. And Richie is just like blown away. But yeah, this was definitely.
And all because, and I didn't want to interrupt you, but and you can finish right after this. But like, to your point, right? It's people, right? I fuck with that because remember they only did that deep dish thing because she was like, oh, we overheard Table 33. They really want a deep dish in Chicago. Boom, done, right? And like, I think because I've been to like these same types of restaurants too, and I've actually watched that happen, that scene meant a lot to me. And the way that you think, right? Like, you think you know what's about to happen. And that's who Richie is, right? Like, we're watching from Richie's perspective. And Richie always thinks that he knows what's about to happen, which is why he was like, oh, you're about to make him a deep dish. And she was like, nope, we are not making shit. You're going to go pick that shit up. You're going to give them exactly what they want. And we're just going to make it pretty. And it's like, that's also part of the culinary world,
Putting an
right? Like,
IG filter on basic food. I love it.
Just put on an IG filter on it. Just Visco that hoe, zhuzh it up a little bit, sprinkle some parsley on it, and here's your fancy deep dish at a place where your bill was probably going to be $1,000, each. Okay, you're going to spend some racks today, but here's your deep dish, Pisha, since you want to be a deep dish. And that's what it was. Like that Forks episode was about people, and furthermore, like creating the experience. And that's where, like, I like what you're saying. To your point, maybe none of you have been in the back of the house, or maybe none of you have been chefs or in the kitchen, but y'all have been on the other side of a restaurant. And y'all know how it feels, self-proclaimed quote unquote foodies, right? Y'all know how it feels, not just the food, but the experience. And this episode reminded me, because I know it was the next episode where they called it out, but I was like, yo, I do love when they do shit at my table. That's why you have a billion Instagram posts about people at hibachi, right? Like, motherfuckers love when you do shit at the table. Pour my soup at the table. Pour some cotton candy into my thing at the table. Put the smoke at the table. Like, that episode and then the following episode, like, really called out. And, Sid and Carmi had that moment where they were like, oh, this is what we can do on the menu. What if we poured it on there in front of them? And it's like, we love that shit. Y'all love when people do the shit right in front of you. But go ahead.
And the cherry on top, and I'll wrap with this. The cherry on top for me was, of course, the chef Luca is referring to in the 4th episode being Carmi was just, it's like, of course, I was like, I had a feeling when Luca was telling the story, I was like, he's talking about Carmi. Wasn't sure.
Oh.
But to see that little detail when he's walking backstage and the camera slowly pans to that picture, it's like, of course the chef was Carmi. Of course it was.
Oh, isn't that perfect? I got chills when I saw that, and Richie saw it too, but it wasn't a moment for Marcus, it was a moment for Richie, and you almost are like, right? You're almost like, damn, like, he was talking about, I would never be as good as Carmi. And so it makes everything much more beautiful. I didn't catch it when he was talking about it, because where we are in season 2, where Carmi is like almost under Sid, right? In some kind of weird, beautiful, cosmic way. He's like, I couldn't do this without you, Sid, right? And Sid doesn't have any stars. And so they have this like little gentle respect and banter for each other, right? And she's like in Carmi's house, fucking up every other, reduction, right? She's just like, oh, he's like, this is too much acid, too much sugar, too much salt. Why did you marinate this too long? Like, she's fucking up so much, yet she's the one that's opening up the bear, right? And I think it's so cool because we know it's still Carmi, Richie, Sugar, but Sid is like the face.
The engine.
Yeah, she's the heart of this fucking restaurant. And so while Carmi is obviously the most experienced, and we get, Luca talking about him like he's this character we've never met, Sid is still like, he's like, all right, like, she's like, all right, okay, Carmi's always referring to her, always asking her for the final say. And I really think that's really cool because it's almost like parallel to real life, where Black women are always like, and I'm going to be that person because I think it's important. Black women are always like the engine, but they never get to be the face. Black women are always doing the work, but they never get to be the face. And Carmi's like, I don't even want to be the face, bro. You the engine, you're the soul, and you're the face. This is your shit. I'm just here, white man, running shit. Obviously, I've gotten a bunch of, but like, it's almost like this beautiful acceptance of like white privilege without being like annoyingly in your face about it. It's really fucking fun. Go ahead, Juanita.
Yeah, shit. I had several points, but I'm glad you brought up Forks because that's probably might be my favorite episode of the entire season. Because Richie was such an easy guy to hate season 1.
Yes.
So easy to hate. For him to have this arc in season 2, like to where I'm audibly rooting for Richie as he's going through this journey and watching him do this, like I'm tearing up right now just kind of thinking about it because you see him like be frustrated with himself.
Relatable.
Yeah, like when we meet Richie in season 2, he tells a story about a guy who was just left behind. And for him to have that fear, especially being at the age he has, his best friend in the whole world is no longer here. And he has this restaurant that's undergoing this change that he doesn't really recognize.
Right.
And everything is new. It's a lot going on.
Yeah.
And for him to get to Forks and not firstly understand why they do what they do. It's not one of those things. That's what I appreciate a lot about the season, and this episode in particular. It's that it's the why. It's the service. I have this saying, like, when you walk in service, you stumble over your purpose. And you get a lot of that in this episode, because the reason they're able to work in these environments and damn near kill themselves daily is because they're giving someone the best day of their life, or one of the most, like, you make lifetimes every day. And you have to understand that and respect that moment. And that's what they were driving home with Richie. And for Sid and Carmy, for Carmy to even have the wherewithal, like, oh no, you go here, because I know what they're going to give you.
Exactly. And I love the way you said that, right? You make lifetimes here, right? And if you could feel that close, and I think they created that closeness when they showed Richie looking out to see that couple that didn't have to pay for their food, right?
Right.
Because of whatever was said, like, right before, right, where they were like, oh, we saved up for however long to do this, right?
Mhm.
Like, imagine, like, having your craft, right, and being like so far into it, right? Good point earlier. I think it was made. It's like he's been doing this for like 5 years. I think Edwin made that point, and it's like, imagine like walking in service, and you stumble over your purpose, and you can see it real time. Like someone just preached to you, but then like within 24 hours, you see real time that you just made someone's life. Like someone is talking about this for the rest of their life, and you know that, then of course I'm going to clean some forks. What you mean?
Look, and it's also a testament, even like just to creatives, really, just understanding that what you do does, if like the most minuscule thing has a purpose, like everything feeds into everything else. And
Yes.
you can't really skip that step. For Richie to then get that validation at the end of the episode,
And you don't want to get that step,
right? Right. But like, for him to go into that, he thought Carmen was trying to embarrass him, thought she was taking the mickey, all of that. And then he's like, oh no, he believes in you. He told me himself.
Yep. He got that from Chef Terry. Yep. David, go ahead. I'm gonna wrap up here in a minute. Go ahead, David.
Yeah, just going back to something you said that kind of relates to all of this is that, they're a family. And I really feel as though that, besides obviously the most recognizable aspect of the show is that it's about, the restaurant business. But I think on another level, it's really just about family and all the different orientations or all the different places where family takes place, where it grows, whether that be your biological family or your chosen family. How those dynamics are similar and how they can be applied or end up applying in your life in other places or in those connections that you build outside of the familiar home. And you see those same dynamics kind of carrying on and those things kind of repeating themselves in various ways, especially as it pertains to talking about Richie. Especially I think his and Mikey's relationship, because a lot of times in families, especially big ones, mainly with big ones, there's always some child, some member, husband or wife, that feels like they might be, there's somebody who's slipping through the cracks. There's somebody who isn't seen as much, somebody who isn't heard as much, somebody who is constantly dismissed. And in a way, I feel as though Mikey was loud, you can see from previous episodes that a lot of people weren't really listening to him when he was saying things. And they weren't really paying attention to how the things they might say might really have hurt him, especially being somebody on the edge like that. That's what I got from the whole Uncle Lee procession. It started very early. And even again, especially because Sarah Paulson said that she had never heard this story and did want to hear it. And here's Uncle Lee just igniting the fires. And then he starts it up again at the dinner table. And everyone is still not seeing what's happening to Mikey because a lot of them believe that you're a drug addict, you're a fuck up. It's their retort. And then what subsequently comes as a consequence of his death is that there's a lot of guilt lying around, especially with Carmy for what you think you could have done or should have done. And Zach translates to Richie too. And I think is part and parcel of his feelings of losing his person because he watched another person slip through those same cracks, feel like, what do I have to offer here? What do I really have a lot of self-doubt, and I'm sure he probably at some point in time revealed that to Richie, and he feels those same things, especially as he's losing his family. Now he's losing, and he's lost his best friend, who was the only one that really kept him around as far as he's concerned, and he's concerned that Carmy might not share those same feelings for him and might not have that same place for him in his life. And so he's reaching on, trying to grasp for anything to try to make himself be somebody within this dynamic, and then finally he finds his own place. And a lot of times that is, you have to go, it's not just about there's a service thing there, and that is very important. There's also this aspect of that you have to be alone sometimes to find your purpose. It's not always going to be found within this crazy dynamic. You have to go somewhere else and find it. And I thought that was brilliant too.
And I think as you were talking, like, I'm thinking about Carmy, right? I'm thinking about Carmy, and like Carmy has for season 1, you're like, oh, this guy's fucked up, and who wouldn't be fucked up about like their close family member doing what they did and then leaving this like restaurant to them, right? You get those flashbacks where there's like a literal bear in the first season. Like, oh, what a phenomenal season. I recommend we all rewatch it, honestly, and hashtag what we watch, and let's talk about it again because it's so good. But like, I think about Carmy, right? And I think about Carmy's relationship to Sid, and Carmy shines because of Sid. Carmy shines. Jeremy Allen White and Ayo Edebiri. Can we just like, what are we talking about, guys? Like, are we talking about master class? Are we talking about perfection here? Because that's what we're talking about. And I'm not going to close the space without like celebrating Ayo Edebiri, but I really want to comment on Jeremy Allen White's character and say that like this man is seeing all the stuff that you were talking about, to your point, David, and saying, you know what? I need to take a step back. And do you know how many times this man apologized in this season? This man apologizes constantly. Carmy apologizes so much in this season. It was almost discomforting because it was like, this is how Carmy is growing. Like, now he's apologizing. Richie is fucking apologizing. Sugar is like, my love, my this, baby, da 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 da. And it's like, and that maybe wasn't too much a departure from the first season, but definitely like, we get to see that part. And it's like these moments where there's like this very, Carmy is struggling to like be in the moment, not get crazy, apologize, because he never got that, right? That's why you get him in the freezer, in the cooler, in the walk-in cooler, and he's going back to how he was spoken to in this fucking thing and why it just solidified in his childhood why he's so fucked up in the head. And then like he goes into his work, he throws himself into his work. You're nothing. You're this, you're that, right? And then you have Uncle Lee, you're nothing, to Mikey, and all this kind of stuff. And he's like building this relationship with Sid, and they have this like little sign where they like rub on their chest with the fist to say like, hey, let's calm this down. Let's get back to the right level. Like, it's really beautiful. Like, I honestly think everyone should practice like some sort of relationship like Carmy and Sid in their lives, where you have this kind of, hey, let's check ourselves. Let's let each other be human and stumble, but let's check ourselves and let's apologize. And I think you want to talk about casting. I love what you said about all the cameos, David, but I think that the best decision, hands down, in any collaborative part of TV, filmmaking, any of that, is them casting Ayo Edebiri. I genuinely think that is the most important decision that was ever made on this fucking show, to have Sid played by Ayo Edebiri. Mark my fucking words. This actor is going to go the fuck off. She already is. But like, this is the biggest, most important casting decision that I have seen in a TV show. Ayo is so perfect. She does every single line perfectly, right? Remember I talked in the beginning of the show about like the, you know, the layered chaos, right? Whoever called it out, where like you hear Jamie Lee Curtis' mom yelling in the background while they're having this like tiny conversation, and they're still like almost like she's hovering over them still there because they're so afraid of she might hear and might like explode further, right? Like you have these like layered chaotic moments and these beats that are so important, right? Because I don't know if y'all, but when y'all look at a script, I can't wait till the scripts come out for The Bear. If you have them, let me know. But like to write a script like that, like there was a lot that the actors carried to make sure that every beat hit the way it did. And Ayo has not missed yet. She doesn't miss anything. She stumbles over the right words. She cusses at the right time. She laughs at the right time. She plays almost like sexy alluring at the right time, but she plays sarcastic and fucking weird at the right time. Then she plays awkward girl next door. Then she plays like drama crazy. Then she plays big boss. And I'm like, you guys, this is what I'm talking about. Ayo Edebiri is a young Black woman, and that was the best decision that this show has made. And to put her alongside Jeremy Allen White so we can watch him improve and grow, that shit is dope as hell. And then we get Robert Townsend as her father, and I can tell that like season 3 we're gonna get more deeply into like her struggles, right? Because she has very high highs and very low lows, right? But okay, Black woman, right? She gets to shine in that way because Black women are used to that kind of highs and lows and following your career as a creative and being passionate about your art. And literally like the first 3 episodes are just, we cannot do this. This is fucking crazy. Is this crazy? Am I crazy? Am I wrong? Am I going to fail? Like they asked those questions between her, Carmi, and Sugar this whole time, especially in the first 3 episodes. But like, you know Sid is going to win, but the journey is so much fun. And I really just, I cannot close this space out without saying how amazing Ayo Edebiri is. And I'm just so excited to see Sid in this like show. And like the last thing I want to say is that when we talk about this, what I really like that we can come together and talk about this show, guys, is that you think Queen's Gambit, right? And you think like, damn, right? Like this show is about a bitch playing chess, Like I'm being very vulgar and like, kind of for a reason, right? It's like, oh, Succession is about these 4 white kids like trying to follow their dad. What are we even doing here, right? And it's like, Barry is about like a guy that like is a hitman and then like wants to be an actor. Like, what are these log lines? What are these stories? And The Bear is literally about opening up a restaurant. And it's like, how do you sell that, right? Like the log line here for this show is these fucked up people are opening up a restaurant. And they show you how it is exact same whether they're running a fucked up sandwich shop with no menu or a Michelin star rated, goal of, 1 or 2 or 3 Michelin stars and, front of the house, back of the house, all kinds of like, like a well-oiled machine, like, and how these same people were running the same thing and how they came together to transform. And it's like, it shows like that, like, oh, this bitch playing chess and these 4, white people following their dad and, Barry being a hitman to an actor. And it's like, this white guy wants to open up a restaurant, but then like this Black girl takes over and like, and I'm saying it in a crude way because like you can really, that's really what these shows are about. And it's like, how do you sell that to an audience like us? How do you sell it to a community for us to talk about it? And The Bear is just doing a really good job. So many people have asked me, oh, is that the show about food? And I'm like, yeah. Like, yeah, season 1 is definitely about food. Like the most beautiful shots in that first season are just like a bunch of food shots, right? It's like, oh, is that the show where they're like at a restaurant? Like, yeah, that's exactly what this show is actually. And it sounds very basic, but this is where the writing and the directing and the music takes it to a whole nother level. So I'm really glad we were here to talk about it. I'm going to wrap this up because my assistants do not play about the time that we spend here. Please tweet me what we watch. Follow What We Watch Film TV. We're at 1,000 followers. Guys, I guess we're on Threads now. We're on Spill now. We're everywhere. Follow me. I am not moving What We Watch Film TV into all of those spaces quite yet. We do have our own social community, in effect. It is whatwewatch.net. Please join. We can talk there. All the spaces are always there if you want to revert back or tweet me or the show, anything, the Twitter, What We Watch Film TV. Thank you guys so much for joining. That was The Bear, FX, and What We Watch. Bye.